It's no secret Asus makes some of the nicest and best performing components around, and this beauty is no exception. Let's take a look. Hey YouTube, what's going on? I'm Danny with Danny's Tech Channel. If this is your first time to the channel, we usually do hardware reviews, PC builds, and sometimes perform how-to videos too. Today I'm taking a look at the Asus ROG Crosshair VIII Hero Wi-Fi. Wow, that's a long name. They gotta work on these things. You can distinguish the Crosshair versus the Maximus motherboards. Pretty much the same board, but the Crosshair is the AMD version. The Maximus is the Intel version. The price for this motherboard is $379 USD. It's pretty steep for this board, but it scales with the features. A lot of the lower end boards that are in the $200 range, you don't get these kind of features on the board. So let's go over some of those right now. The main reason I bought this board is for an editing rig upcoming that I'm going to be building. And I wanted an X570 chipset. It has 4 DIMM slots, which I really like for expandable, memory. You have PCI 4.0. You have Wi-Fi 6 already on board, and it's got 2 M.2 slots at the bottom there, as well as PCI 4.0 the whole way down for the X570 chipset. And then another thing that kind of drove me to it is the built-in I/O shield. I love built-in I/O shields now. It's so nice to not forget them and not have to worry about where they're at. And then another cool thing that you can do with it is they have an actual mode for LN2 overclocking. I'm not going to be taking advantage of that, but if you're interested in this board, that's something you might want to be looking at. So let's open it up and take a look at what it actually, this is not a review of the board or anything. I'm not booting it up or anything like that. This is just an overview of how it looks and what you can expect to find on the board. So when you're finding a case to go along with it, you can kind of plan that out where everything's at and what you're going to be doing. One of the major things that I really like about these higher end boards from these companies is the box. I know a lot of people don't really care about the boxes and they don't save them or anything. This is double layer cardboard. So, when you open it, you can see right away that it's got a built-in back plate to it that when you open the cardboard that actually opens this board with it, and it has a really nice design to show you the board, to display the board. And then all you have to do is take your anti-static cover here off. It says anti-static right in it, but it's just a piece of plastic, so pretty interesting to me. But it's got slots pushing on the RAM and all that stuff. So this is not an unboxing video per se. I'm not going to get out all the extra components and whatnot. The outline of it going across, I'm going to go across the bottom here, then I'll go up the side, then I'm going to go across the top and down the I/O in the back. Your main plugs here, your first thing you have is your HD audio for your front panel. You have a fan header. You have the LN2 mode switch to be able to toggle it back and forth. It's just a jumper plug. You have a safe boot button, a retry button. You have your TPM. You don't need to worry about that, or most people don't. You have an RGB header for your 12 volt. You have a 5 volt addressable RGB header. You have your USB headers all the way along the bottom here. You have 2 of those, 2 sets, and then the node. The slow-mo switch, do not flip that thinking that it goes to your chipset fan. I actually had to read up on it because I was like, oh, maybe it's a slowing down the chipset fan. No, it's for LN2 overclocking. You flip the switch and it will slow the processor down so that you don't crash in BIOS and stuff. And then you have your front panel connector, you have your speaker plug, and you have another front panel fan header. You have another fan header. There's a lot of fan headers on this. So you have 2 more fan headers here that can power fans. You have 8 SATA ports. You have a USB 3.0 header. You have another fan header. You have a USB-C header, 24-pin power connector, and then your reset and power buttons. The power button's actually an actual button. Then you have another 5 volt addressable RGB header. You have a 12 volt RGB header. You have your boot code display. And then you have the AIO pump header, CPU fan header, and then a CPU optional header. And then all the way along past your big heat sink here, you have an 8-pin plus 4-pin EPS power connector. As you can see the whole way around there, tons of options and stuff, tons of available locations for plug-in. I really like how Asus has this laid out on the board because of a lot of the cases that you want to use. You got your fan headers on the top for all-in-one, liquid coolers and your CPU fan headers. Your BIOS boot codes are at the top here, which I think is pretty neat because some of them put them at the side or at the bottom, and once you put GPUs in or any PCI slot things, it's completely blocked by that. So that's kind of a neat spot for it as far as it goes for me. And then having RGB header plugs at the top and at the bottom is very beneficial depending on where you're plugging in fans. Oh, and also along the back side here, you actually have another fan header. It's like your fan 1 connector. It's right next to your IO cover. So you can route your cables along the side of this channel. There's actually quite a gap right here between the heatsink and the plastic shroud. So it gives you plenty of space if you want to run a fan connector down there and plug it right in. It's actually not too bad of an idea. On your rear I/O, you can look down the side there. You have the BIOS flashback button as well as a clear CMOS button. You have your 2 Wi-Fi 6 antenna plugs. You have 8 USB 3.2 Gen 2 plugs. You can distinguish this because it has the 10 for your speed, 10 gigabits per second. One of them is a Type-C connector. The rest are all Type-A connectors. And then you have 4 3.2 Gen 1 plugs. You have a 2.5 gig LAN. You have a 1 gig LAN. And then all the usual audio outputs. Plenty of outputs on the board as well as on the I/O. And this is really what I wanted this for. I wanted it to be able to be expandable. I'm building it in an editing rig, so I wanted it to handle the highest powered chips and stuff like that. I'd like to put a 5950X in this thing when I can actually find one. The cool thing about it was mine came with the newest BIOS already installed, so I dropped my 5600X I just got into it, and it booted right up. Make sure you get subscribed down below if you want to check out any 5600X reviews. I'm going to put them against some of the other processors that I have and see how they fare. But like I said, that's the overview of the board. It's what it looks like. The main things I got this for is the connectivity options on it as far as the rear I/O, and then also where everything's located on the board. I really like the layout as far as what case I'm going to put it in and everything like that. So it really benefited me. I love the Asus BIOS. The way it navigates and everything like that is really nice. I love how they lay out the BIOS. One of the other selling points to me was I wanted a VRM delivery that can handle it. BuildZoid actually did a review of this board, and he said the VRM is overkill for the board even. If you want to put a 5950X in it, it will handle it. Now, Asus is actually coming out with the same motherboard, but minus a chipset fan, and it has better power delivery for the VRM. I think it has 90 amp power stages instead of 60, which this board has. But like I said, the review videos of it is saying that this is already overkill, so it should be able to handle a 5900X, a 5950X perfectly fine. You can even overclock it if you want to. If this can handle LN2, it can definitely do whatever I'm going to do with it. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to take you through a walkthrough of the board and all the cool little features and how it looks all the way around here, as well as what kind of power delivery and stuff you have. Plus, it gave you a little teaser into the fact that I'm going to be doing an editing rig coming up here soon. I'm going to use this board. I'm going to use a different processor, actually from last gen. So like I said, don't forget to subscribe so you can check out this build coming soon. And as always, I'm Danny with Danny's Tech Channel, and I'll see you in the next video.